I think the problem with these kinds of examples, and this really comes to light with like autopilot, um, with self-driving cars, is expectations around 95% versus 100%. And I use this simple, you can call it a rubric or rule, whatever you want to call it. I call it my 95% rule. And basically, the notion is that you should assume that AI is 95% accurate. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's 99%, maybe it's 98, maybe it's lower, whatever. But you should just assume it's 95% accurate. And so if you operate with that model, how do you design a user experience to account for that? Vast majority of startups in the Valley. So right after ChatGPT was released, there was a number of startups funded in the Valley that basically were out pitching to investors that, hey, I will take this existing SaaS workflow and I will fully automate it with Gen AI. And then they went and put it in practice and they realized that it was like 96% of the way there. But fine tuning and all that sort of stuff, adding more stuff into the prompt and context and whatnot, wasn't getting them to 100%. It was still stuck around 96, maybe 97. And so all of a sudden they went back and they said, hey, we still have to keep a human in the loop. And the human in the loop is, one, to obviously bring some taste, two, to review and edit and approve, and three, to kind of like, finish the workflow or confirm or whatnot, right? And that's obviously changed the economics for a number of these startups. And so now they're revisiting whether it makes sense, whatever they're doing or whatever. And so when you look at these business examples, as you cited, vending machines, stock trading, if you use the 95% rule, that's not good enough when you're dealing with money, right? And that's why Stock GPT or whatever it was called went to zero off its initial $1 million fund. That's why the vending machine lost enormous amounts of money in this Claude experiment or Anthropic experiment. Because there's no tolerance. And that's why with self-driving cars, yes, we've made tons of progress, don't get me wrong, but we still have a remote driver that can patch in for just the most gnarliest or extreme sort of use cases. So I think that's where there's a big gap. And so I'm not in the camp that humans are necessarily being replaced, but I'm definitely in the camp that human product is experiencing a 10x through augmentation.